Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. So today, like I said in my earlier video, I'm going to do a breakdown of the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer number 2 that was released today, and this shows us a lot more of this movie, and it actually makes me very interested to see it, just to kind of see where certain things go. Again, I'm a bit MCU'd out because of the Journey to Endgame videos, which, by the way, my my full spoiler Endgame review, which is the finale to Journey to Endgame, will be coming out at some point this week when I get time. It's going to be kind of a hectic week, but um, so first of all, let's go through this. So, Spider Man Far From Home has been stated as the final film in Marvel Phase 3, even though Endgame kind of finishes stuff off. It's kind of like how Ant Man's the final film in Marvel Phase 2. It's that kind of an idea. So, this is kind of the calm after the storm, and you get to kind of catch up with some of the other people in the MCU and the main universe after the events of Endgame. Now, one thing I will say is, and I appreciate them doing this, is Tom Holland actually has a brief video of himself at the beginning of the trailer that says, "Please, if you have not seen Endgame, do not watch this trailer. It will have spoilers for that film. But if you have seen Endgame, then please enjoy the trailer." And I will reiterate that here. Um, and also, when I put the trailer in the description, I will make sure to put next to it that if you do not want Endgame spoilers, do not watch this trailer. And I think it was smart of them. The very first trailer they put out, they did not go very deep into any aspects of things that would happen in Endgame, which was good because again, you don't want to spoil the film that early. So um, going into the actual trailer, we have some returning people from the previous film, most notably Tom Holland as Spider-Man. You also have Marissa Tomei as Aunt May, even though she doesn't show up in this trailer. She did show up in the first trailer to the film. So we know that she is coming back. Happy Hogan appears to have a rather large role in the film. As well as Nick Fury, Mariah Hill, who we see in these trailers. And in addition to that, we also have the addition. Well, addition to that, we also have the addition. Additionally, we have Jake Gyllenhaal coming in as Quentin Beck slash Mysterio, who is the main villain of the movie. Although you couldn't really tell that from this trailer. Um, so let's just dive right into it. We get kind of an opening shot, an establishing shot where we pick up after the events of Endgame. And again, spoilers, but Tony Stark is killed at the end of Endgame when he uses the Infinity Stones and snaps Thanos and his army away. So at this point, this is post Tony Stark death. This is the first time we actually have a film that is post his time in the MCU. So now that Tony Stark is deceased, Spider-Man has kind of taken it upon himself to not kind of take up the mantle a bit and try and do more and more and more because he knows that he's capable of it. He's more in tune with his powers now after having them for I think at this point it would probably be a little over a year or so. But he's gotten used to his powers at this point. He still has his Stark tech suit from Infinity War and Endgame. So that is still being used, or the Iron Spider suit, the Stark Spider suit, whatever you want to call it. Um, but they go into that at the beginning. They show him taking out a bunch of guys in a room. Again, he seems much more graceful in this, which I'm happy about. Again, I didn't really like clumsy Spider-Man in Spider-Man Homecoming, but I get the idea that he was kind of just feeling things out. This trailer makes him look a lot more acrobatic and aerobatic, like Spider-Man should be. So I do like that change. But we go through this early part, and you see him wearing the Iron Spider suit and using all like, the gadgets and all that stuff. But then we see that basically Peter Parker has been busting his ass, so he is going to be going on vacation, which is in the form of a school trip that is through Europe. Now we have also some returning characters, obviously from Peter Parker's entourage, which have been explained by the Russo brothers. They were snapped and brought back. So we have Flash Thompson. Again, don't know the actor. I don't know any of the actors that play these people because again, it's it's more just the characters than anything else. His best friend, Peter's best friend Ned, who again I think is supposed to be Ned Leeds, but they never mention that. And then the MJ character, the Mary Jane that is not Mary Jane. Um, so in this, we kind of pick up the fact that Peter is he's going on this trip, but essentially he gets his trip hijacked by Nick Fury, and this trailer reveals something really interesting if true. Now, Quentin Beck is Mysterio. He hasn't shown up in the MCU yet. This is his first appearance, but Quentin Beck originally started out, he was basically like a magician, sort of, and he just donned this suit and started robbing banks and stuff like that. And eventually, Spider Man was able to defeat him. But at points, Quentin Beck did have actual magical powers. So I don't know which version this is. He could have actual magical powers like they show in the trailers, or it could just be some elaborate tech stuff. Maybe he had like some Chitauri or some Stark tech or something like that that he modified. But he has this stuff, and basically he is working with Nick Fury and Mariah Hill, and this is where we kind of learn about this thing where Nick Fury basically explains that Quentin Beck is from another Earth. He's from an alternate Earth. So they're saying what happened is because the Avengers screwed around with the timeline to bring everybody back in Endgame, they have somehow created a multiverse. Now this could be good or it could be very bad. Now the bad thing is that you can kind of bring back characters that have been killed off, or maybe different versions of them. I don't necessarily like that idea. I like the fact of kind of moving on from the first stages of the MCU. You kill off, again, spoilers, but you kill off Iron Man, you kill off Black Widow. Vision, I think, is still dead. The only one you brought in from another universe was Gamora, and that's really probably going to go into the plot of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So for the most part, you have you're still your core left, but I wouldn't want to see alternate versions of those characters come over and kind of take up the mantles of the old ones. Again, this is kind of the problem we're seeing in the comic books. As far as I'm concerned, in film there is only one Tony Stark, and that is Robert Downey Jr. Just like there's only one Captain America, that is Chris Evans. I kind of feel the same way even about some of the Fox characters like Wolverine. There's never going to be another true Wolverine to me outside of Hugh Jackman unless somebody can prove that they can play the role just as well as he did. But you have some interesting things that could happen there. But then you can also have these things where, all right, you bring in the X-Men, or you bring in the Fantastic Four, or you bring in all these other extenuous characters now from other universes that didn't exist before. So you can still add some stuff to the universe. The problem is, I don't think you should add. I don't think you should bring back older things or different versions of older things. Add in the new stuff. Add in the stuff like the Eternals and the X-Men and all these other characters. But that opens up a lot of possibilities, and it's interesting to hear them finally talk about something like a multiverse. Because we've been in this basically just this one universe the entire time, and there's still so much to explore in it. But now you've opened up a whole new avenue of possibilities if that's the case. So we move through this. Peter and Quentin essentially are working together. They show that these like elemental beings. There we've seen a sand one. There's a water one. There's apparently a fire or a volcanic one. But they're these large elemental creatures that rise up from the ground or from the earth and start wreaking havoc and stuff. But this could easily be a few different things, and I'll go into that. We get a look at some of Peter's newer costumes. We get a decent look at the black and red spider suit, as well as the stealth suit that we've seen in some advertisements, and we actually get to see him wearing the stealth suit and kind of running around and doing stuff now too, as opposed to just wearing it and staring or hang on a wall or something like that. So we get to see some of that stuff. We get to see some of the fight scenes. There's the carnival scene, which is either a homage or a reference to the first meeting or one of the meetings between Spider-Man and Mysterio, which takes place at a carnival. It's kind of a famous one. Um, but we get to see a bit more of that fight, which is interesting. But here's the thing: is that the trailer portrays Mysterio as he's from an alternate world. He's come here, and we don't exactly know what he's doing, or we know very very little about him because we don't know anything about this alternate Earth, if that's even the case. Again, Mysterio is a master of illusion in the comic book, so he could be pulling the wool over the eyes of people like Nick Fury and Mariah Hill. It's very possible. Or he could be using some kind of device or something like that. Again, I've said it before, his suit could be Stark tech, or it could be just old Chitauri stuff, or Outrider, or Thanos stuff that he harvested. Again, it's been 5 years since the snap, so a lot of different things have probably happened around the world that haven't affected the people that were snapped away. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see how we catch up with all the extenuous stuff after Endgame, because Endgame really doesn't explain very much about what happened in those 5 years. It explains some, but it doesn't go into depth. And now that all those people are put back and the time stream might be messed up, there's a lot that could be delved into and explained in this movie just based off of what happens in Endgame. But going back through that, it would. Quentin Beck is a complete question mark at this point because we have no idea what we're getting into and what we're in for. They could turn him into a hero for all we know, even though we all know Mysterio is a villain. Maybe turn him into a hero for a movie and then have him have a downfall or something. These elemental creatures are the real villains. It's like Hydro Man and Sandman and stuff. It could be any number of things, but it is interesting to see. And then we have some moments between Peter and not Mary Jane, um, and some stuff between him and some of his other classmates and everything. Again, these are all people that are adjusting after that 5 year snap and coming back. So a lot of their classmates probably did not get disintegrated, and they were most likely, they've moved on. They're in college at this point because I believe Peter's a sophomore in high school at this point in time, or a freshman. Um, but there's a lot going on here, and there's a lot to dissect. But most of it's just speculation. The stuff that we do find out solidly from the trailer is that Mysterio is working with Shield. He's believed to be a good guy. Spider-Man is also working with Shield because he's been recruited by Nick Fury and basically being pushed to be that replacement for Iron Man. They joke in this movie a little bit when Peter's talking with some cops about how he's going to be the next Iron Man, and I think that's Marvel's angle here. And the evidence that I have behind that is that um, basically, when the first Avengers came out, everybody knew the tent pole was Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man. Now we have all these other extenuous characters that hold things up. But really, in the early days, a lot of it was Iron Man until Avengers. But Iron Man was still the most popular character. So what do you do right after Avengers? You have Iron Man 3 comes out right after that, picks up a little bit after the events of Avengers. You have to see some of the fallout, but most of it is Tony Stark's story going forward after Avengers. So you do that for that film, and now you're doing Spider-Man for this film. And Spider-Man, even though he's not as big in the MCU as some of the other characters because he's relatively new, Spider-Man is the most popular character in Marvel Comics, hands down, across the board. So it would only be logical for you to push, now that you have him and you have a deal that hopefully will get, renewed for the future and stuff, you can push him into the limelight, and now you can have Spider-Man front and center for the MCU. And that can be your new Iron Man, and then you just build your new core around him, which, now you have characters like Doctor Strange and Black Panther and unfortunately Captain Marvel, and they're going to be adding more and more and more as time goes on. But if you want to push any of those characters to the front, you push Spider-Man because Spider-Man will sell. He will sell, and if he's written well, and if you have a good cast around him, and if you progress his character, unlike what the comic books have done, then you'll have people that are a fan of it. So I'm personally optimistic about it. I like that idea of pushing him to the forefront as the spiritual replacement for Iron Man, especially because of Iron Man and Tony Stark and Peter Parker's relationship in the MCU, where it's kind of a father-son type of relationship. And I also enjoy in this that we do see a little bit of an addition to the Happy Hogan and Peter Parker relationship, where Peter's more less of like, oh, I'm a wide-eyed kid, and he's gotten used to this hero thing, and he can talk to Happy on kind of like an even level. And now that Tony's gone, they kind of have something in common where they both lost this person in their lives. So overall, I liked the trailer. I thought it opened a plethora of possibilities, an insane amount of possibilities. I'm going to link the trailer below along with a spoiler warning. And if you have any comments on the trailer, you can put them below. Or if you have any counterpoints to what I've said, remember to like the video, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?